Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Continuing our top 10 ranking shows here. We've been doing these most Tuesday nights. Tonight, we're switching over. We finished the offense. Now we're going to jump into edge rushers. Man, there's some dudes out there. We talk about a quarterback class. There's some edges in this class that are going to earn their keep after this season. We also have a poll going over here. If anybody wants to vote, we're still trying to figure this poll thing out. So I threw a poll up there, just a simple yes or no. Anybody in the chat that votes on it. But while we're getting to that, we'll go ahead and introduce everybody, and we're going to start as we always do with the CEO of the WTP Sports Dudes, Mr. Robert Brown. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm glad to be here this evening with you two. Excited about talking about these top 10 edge rushers. I feel like the list that we compiled is some unbelievable players, and I'm looking forward to hearing about each and every one of them. Thanks for having me this evening. I'm feeling fantastic.
Well, we always have to have you. I mean, you are the CEO. I mean, come on now. What kind of business are we running over here? And not to be outdone, we have our COO. If y'all enjoyed the thumbnail, you can thank the gentleman, Mr. Postgame. He designed that for us this evening. Wonderful thumbnail you created, Post. How's your evening going?
You're on mute.
You're on mute. Got a little technical snafu over there with post game, but we'll get it all straightened out. He'll jump back in. We'll bring him back up here in a second. Everything's fun and great until technology decides it just ain't. So, we apologize for everybody, but we will get post game right back up and put into the chats. So, Rob, I don't want to get too far into it without post game, but you had mentioned in our group chat that this was tough. How hard was it for you to put a 10 list together?
Man, it was extremely difficult because when you really start looking at some of the guys who you probably would have had on your honorable mention list, they could actually be on your top 10 list, but you had to narrow it down to 10 guys, man. There was probably, I would say, at least 17 to 20 guys who was worthy to be in the top 10. I know we're going to leave some guys out that could definitely be in some top 10s, and I'm quite sure if you looked at top 10s that people have done across the country, you will see they had the same situation, the same difficulty in finding 10. It was extremely difficult.
For sure. I think we got our technical difficulties worked out. So once again, we'll bring back in post game. Again, the COO of the WTP Sports Dudes in my mind. We got it all worked out. You ready to roll now, brother?
Yes, sir. Can y'all hear me?
Got you.
Yes. Y'all can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, man, it's good to be on with y'all. It's super hot, man. Super hot week in the Midwest. So I'm happy to be home and some cool air and talking sports with y'all as always. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing
for sure. Yeah, it is. You got it right. Even for a Texas boy, that weather outside, man, it's not a joke. Y'all stay hydrated if you outside, please. So without further ado, let's jump into this because this is going to be a pretty good topic, I think, and I think we're going to have some pretty good discussions on this. So Again, we're going to do our top 10 edge rushers for 2026 tonight. As I've always done, let's go through. We have a group, the WTP Sports Dudes, and we submit ranking lists to me for my shows like this. And then I tabulate everybody's rankings and votes, and 10 points for first place, 1 point for 10th place, add it all up. And this is how you get the WTP Sports Dudes. I like it this way. You can't put as much homerism into it. If post game wanted to put his favorite Notre Dame player first overall, he can. But if nobody else votes for him, he only gets those votes. So to me, the more people we can get to vote, the more of a fair ranking system I think it is. So that's why I do it this way. So we'll jump into our honorable mention category first. These are guys that received, 1 vote, 2 votes. I think was the max was 2 votes. One is a name I typed in just to kind of fill a space. He's a guy that I kind of like. So we've got Yhonzae Pierre from Bama. This is where post game is it Boubacar Traore? Okay. I was glad he was from Notre Dame because I knew I had an out if I got it wrong. So Brandon Mack from Houston, Donnie Smith from Troy, and Certain Perkins from Mississippi were the guys who were very low on the point total list. Post, you put Donnie Smith on your list. I'm curious, what is it about him? I'm not going to lie, I don't know a lot about that guy, but you had him on there, so let me know. Tell me your thoughts on him.
Yeah, I like Donnie Smith, man. He's an undersized. He's not the biggest guy. He goes around 220. And I would bet not a lot of people have heard of him because he plays at the University of Troy. But this is a pass rushing specialist, a guy you can unleash on third downs, and he's coming for your quarterback. So I like Donnie Smith a lot. He's not built like physically like the rest of these guys, but nonetheless, he can really get off after the quarterback.
One name on here, Rob, you were the only one to vote for, and that was Mr. Perkins down at Mississippi. What are you thinking on him? And real quick on, I didn't have Donnie Taylor stats, but I did get Perkins. Perkins, I thought would have been higher up on this list. I didn't put him in my list, but this guy had 81 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and 6 passes defended last year. So I see why you put him on there. Maybe the better question is, why didn't the rest of us? I don't know. But you put him on there, so talk to me about Mr. Perkins there.
I felt like he was one of those players who was undersized, and I felt like here's an undersized guy who every year his production grew. He had 10.5 sacks in 2024, which was a sign that this guy had an ability to get after the quarterback. And playing this year, I feel like the defensive coordinator at Mississippi will be able to utilize his skill set. He's only 6'1", 210, which you can't really put him on the edge. You're going to have some design pressures for him. But I feel like in situations where it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, even 3rd and 6, you can deploy this guy and he can get after the quarterback because he has stats that shows that he can get after the quarterback and he has some kind of ability to get there and get home. So I really liked him in this upside. He has 179 total tackles in the 3 years that I think he's been playing so far. And I think that's really, really good for a guy of his size.
Yeah, just let me add real quick. That's a brilliant pick on your part, Rob. The only 2 edge rushers PFF like more than this guy is Cleve Lubin and Colin Simmons from Texas. The only 2 players they like better than him.
Yeah, and And you're dead on his size, Rob. He's 6'2", 220. For people like me, who are like 5'9", if I reach really high on my tippy toes, 6'2" is not a small dude. So, but I guess for an edge rusher, that is considered a little light, but he's getting it done. So, we'll move on after that group. You want to talk about your boy from Notre Dame for a second, post game?
Yeah, I love Boubacar Traore this season. You got to think this is his second year removed from an ACL. Last year was his first year back. That second year remove is normally when players pop, get that full athleticism back. They're back to themselves. They're ready to make plays. I think Boubacar is going to have an outstanding season. I got him reaching 10 sacks. He had 6.5 last year. Definitely the leader in that pass. And when you talk about the edges at Notre Dame, he's definitely the leader in that room. And I think he's going to be tremendous, long, athletic player. And I can't wait to see what he does. And the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about him is because now he's getting tutelage from Charlie Partridge, one of the best defensive line coaches in America. So I'm really excited about Boubacar this season.
Well, even if he doesn't have a terrific standout breakthrough amazing year, he is on my all-name team. That is for sure. He has made the all-name team for NCAA football. You cannot move forward without a Boubacar on your roster. So that's just all there is to it. So, Yanzi Pierre, I'll speak on him for a second because I put him on there just as a throw up there. This kid's only 21 years old this year. He's a redshirt junior. He's 52 tackles, 8 sacks, and 14.5 tackles for loss last year on an Alabama defense that everybody expects to be pretty good this year. So I put him on there. I liked his stats when I looked him up, and I thought he'd be somebody that I didn't expect him to crank the top 10 or get a lot of votes. In fact, he got 0 votes. Nobody even put him on their roster, but I thought he would be somebody to mention, especially when I saw that 21-year-old redshirt junior just kind of jumped off the page at me a little bit. So that's what I went with him. Guys who there was only 2 guys after our list here that were just missed out on the top 10. The top 10 vote getter got 8 votes. These 2 gentlemen got 4 and 5 respectively. Will Helt from Clemson, and Prince Will Umanmielen. I'm sorry, Prince Will. I know that is not right, but I am sorry. Let me see who had who where. Rob, post game, you had Prince Will, I think 7th or 8th on your list. And Rob, you had him 9th. Same with me. And then Will Helt, Rob. I'll let you speak on Will Helt, Rob, because you're the only one who voted for him too. And post game, I'll let you take off with Prince Will, and we'll start with Prince Will on this one. So what are your thoughts on Prince Will?
Well, watching him, I really like his athleticism, his size, his length. He made a lot of plays for Mississippi last year. He's going to be in Baton Rouge at LSU following Lane Kiffin. His relentlessness. He was relentless. He would get off the quarterback relentlessly. Excuse me, but his arm length, his speed and athleticism really stands out when you watch him play. I think he's going to be a monster at LSU, and I definitely think he'll be a top 10 edge rusher.
Will help, Rob?
Yeah, for me, Will help. I was looking at his size, 6'6", 260, a guy who has the body frame to be a really good run stopper. And his 2 years at Purdue in 2024, during that campaign, he played really, really well. He had 7.5 sacks last year at Clemson, 115 total tackles, one forced fumble. I felt like this guy playing on a Clemson team that we know was loaded last year, had a lot of guys get drafted in this past NFL draft. I feel like this is the year for him to break out because this is going to be the year for him. And I think he's going to put it all out there on the line. I feel like he's going to get to 10, 11 sacks this year. And I think that's going to rank right up there in probably the top 20 in the country.
Yeah. I mean, no doubt both of them. I like Prince Will a lot. I like Will Help a lot too. I like Prince Will a little bit better. There was one name that I forgot to put on the list. He didn't get enough votes to get up here. He would have been down with the other tier people. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the guy. And it's Anthony Smith out of Minnesota. You're talking 6'6", 295 for an edge. That's a big boy. 38 tackles, 12.5 sacks, and 17.5 tackles for loss for a Minnesota team in the Big Ten that, I don't know. I mean, I guess they were average-ish. They kind of surprised a few teams, I think. But Minnesota's got some bookends. There's another one on the list that could have made it too. I don't think he made the list. But there was another one that was floating around when I was doing some research on this. So I wanted to remind because I forgot to type his name in. So I wanted to go ahead and mention him at least.
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't make this list. He's definitely one of the best pass rushers in college. I don't even know how I intended to put him in my top 5, but he's not in my top 10, or excuse me, my top 10. But I sure intended to. So that's a mess up on my part. But the pass rusher from Minnesota is amongst the elite. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they got another one. T.J. Bush is over there too. So they've got some pretty good bookends in Minnesota. So, yeah, no, I was kind of shocked. I had him on my list, and I expected others to, and then he just never showed up. And I said, well, I guess that's why we do these, to get a wide range of people. So we'll jump into number 10 on the list, and it's Anto Saka, transfer from Northwestern to A&M. He came in with 8 total votes. The stats don't jump off the page at you. 13 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. I'm really high on this guy, but I'll let y'all speak about him first. Any thoughts you have on him coming down to Texas A&M in the Mike Elko system? Whoever wants to jump first on this one can take off.
You can go, Post.
Really good player, really solid player. I would have had at least 5 or 6 of these guys over Sacco. I think Sacco more so fits the breakout potential guys, a guy who can climb. I know he can play football. I'm not doubting that. But I would have had at least 5 or 6 guys over Sacco to start the season.
Yeah, I feel like number 10 is a good space for him. You know, when you look at what Texas A&M had last year at their bookend positions and the guys who were getting after the quarterback with the departure of Cassius Howell, you expect this guy to come right in there and do very similar things that we've seen Cassius Howell do. The great thing about this is he's going to get a couple of tune-up games in the beginning of the season to really get him propelled and ready for the SEC gauntlet. So I feel like this guy is going to be really, really good this year. I feel like he can get up there around 8, 9, 10 sacks. And I think that's a really good number for a guy who is really going to be playing full time, really for the first time in his career.
Yeah. I had him 6th. Doug had him 7th or 8th on the list. So I put him up there. It's based on what I've seen, what he did at Northwestern, which again doesn't jump off the page at you. But knowing the kind of defense he's going into, where he's pretty much going to be turned loose on any third down, and seeing the size of him and the body style, I mean, he's 6'4", 255, and he can run. So that's why I put him there. There was a couple of guys that him and Hall, I moved people around about 3 times doing this. But I figured what he's done and what I know he's coming into, I expect him to fully have a double-digit sack total going at the end of the season. I guess we lost post-game for a minute. So the one person that I really wanted on here who drew attention to this guy from me was Doug. He had mentioned him, and I started looking at him. But it was Jaden Virgin Morgan from Boise State. I'm not exactly sure. Based on he's at Boise State, he's getting the love he probably deserves if he were at a bigger program. But I mean, you look at the kid's stats. I mean, 56 tackles, 6 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. That's a pretty good edge rusher. So I think playing State might help him a little bit. But Doug really turned me on to him. And I like the guy. Wow, I've seen some of his highlights I was watching before we did this, and that dude looks pretty good. I don't know if you know much about him or not, Rob, but anything you want to talk about him?
I don't know much about him, but just looking at the fact that he has 13 tackles for loss, that is a really good stat, man. I know he's playing in the group of 5 level, but to be able to get 13 tackles for loss, that's a good stat. And he forced 2 fumbles. So, I mean, when you see a guy who can create turnovers and can get tackles for loss, he has 6 sacks. That's a sign that this guy next year, which was 2026, he's going to have an opportunity to really bolster those numbers. And I think that he's going to get somewhere close to double digits in sacks and probably increase his tackle for loss total to around 15 or 16.
Yeah, to be fair on him, the one of the sites where I pulled rankings from just to kind of talk about this was where they this was for the draft where they had him ranked, and they had him as the 4th best edge rusher on the board. So maybe I need to tune into Boise State a little more. I don't know, but they play so late. I'm old.
Yeah.
So, I know, Rob, but you're right there with me, brother. We were the same. It's all good. Hopefully post-game can get back in here. I don't know what happened, but we'll just keep rolling along and we'll let him catch up when he comes back. This next one I thought was a little low on the list. And it was Damon Wilson II from Miami. Where was he at last year? I know he
came in from Missouri last year, I believe. He started up at Georgia, then he ended up at Missouri last year, and then this year he's going to be at Miami.
Okay. Where did we get him at? Let's see here. Let me find him. Yeah. Doug had him the highest, who's not on. Post game had him ranked like 7th. You had him ranked 8th. And so it's hard to say with a guy like this in my mind that people that bounce around to a lot of different defensive schemes. I guess with edge rushers, it might be a little easier because it's pretty much pin your ears and get to the quarterback. But you always wonder about the different cadences and the different calls on the defensive side of the ball. And is it going to have an effect on him, especially at the beginning of the season as he's working himself into the team? So, Damon Wilson, what do you like? He's got, I mean, look at his numbers. They're not great. 9 tackles, 9 sacks. That's pretty good. And 1 interception. But you look at some of these other guys' tackles numbers. Now, obviously, he didn't play it the whole season last year, obviously. But what are you looking forward to? What makes you think he's a top 10 edge rusher?
Well, when you look at where he started off at, he started 2 years at Georgia, and we know what Georgia has had in those positions the last several years. I mean, we don't have to talk about those 2 guys that got drafted in 2025 that went in the, both of them went in the freaking top in the first round. So when you got a guy like him who has been able to be in that room and then transfers to Missouri, plays last year, gets 9 sacks, that lets you know that this guy is ready to propel himself to be a really, really good player this year. And he got to be pretty smart too, because Miami loses Bain and Mesidor, and he says this is an opportunity for me to go and ball out in the ACC in a conference that's probably not as tough as the SEC. I definitely see this guy getting double digits in sacks because I feel like this guy is ready to really take that next step and put himself in an opportunity to get picked in the first or second round of the NFL draft, depending on how well he does. But he's going to a Miami team that's going to be really, really good, who decided to let this guy come there and play for them after they lost 2 of the best bookends that was in college football last year. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for him, and I think he's going to seize the moment, and I think he's ready.
Yeah, and those are some super big shoes to fill down there too. Yeah, I mean, so props to the guy saying I can fill them, but 9 tackles ain't going to do it, brother. You're going to have to do a lot more than that. But hey, I think the guy's going to be great. I think it's a good defensive fit for him down there. He obviously thinks it's a great fit, so can't fault the guy for going somewhere where he wants to improve his stock. Jump into number 7. We're going to jump into the state of Texas again, and our buddy's not in the chat tonight, old Tech man, but he would probably love us for this. Here's Trey White, transferred from, I believe, San Diego State into Texas Tech last year at San Diego State, who had a good season, 53 tackles, 7 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss. I mean, what can we say? I mean, I'm not going to question what Texas Tech's doing on defense. They had a really good defense last year. They obviously, I think, go and find guys that fit their system. Trey White is, let me look up his numbers real quick. 6'3", 240. So, that's probably a really good size edge in the Big 12, I think. I'm not sure it cuts it in the SEC or Big 10 with the size, weight wise, but I think that's about perfect for a Big 12 edge rusher. What do you know and like about Trey White?
Well, what I like about Trey White is the fact that he understood too that he can go to a system that's going to allow him to do what we saw David Dew last year that played over there at Texas Tech, who was the number 2 pick in the NFL draft last year. He has an opportunity to come and really keep that Texas Tech offense from missing a beat when it comes to pass rush, when it comes to having a really good edge who can get after the quarterback, that's going to force offensive coordinators to pay attention to where he's lining up. And I think he's going to bring all of that to the table for Texas Tech, who we all know is probably going to be one of the best teams in the Big 12. And when you add an addition like him, who was ready to take that next step at a higher level than what he was at San Diego State, I think he's ready to turn the corner. And I'm anxious to see him play this season, because if they can make it all the way back to the Big 12 championship game, I think it's going to be because of his production, along with some of those other guys on the defense.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy with these rankings right now is, much like him and the guy from Boise State, even Saka from A&M. These are all guys coming into Wilson too, to a new system. Now Wilson was at a Power 4 school. Saka was at Northwestern. It's a Power 4 school, but it's not on the level of an A&M or one of the bigger schools. But these other two are coming out of, group of 5 teams. How does that translate? So we'll see how it translates. I mean, edge rushers are edge rushers. They all know to go get the quarterback and be able to tackle people out on the space. So we'll see if it translates. But, I mean, you saw what that defense did last year. They had the number 2 overall draft pick off that defense, and he said, let me just fill the spot. So big shoes to fill, but we'll let you do it. Moving on to number 6. I knew this was going to come up, and I've been dreading this the whole night long. Here we go. Mateo Uiagalelei. Sorry, Mateo. That's what you're going with, brother, because I'm not trying that again. That's what our next ranking show is going to be. Pronounce this. He's at Oregon. 38 tackles, 12.5 sacks, 17.5 tackles for loss. 6'5", 272. I mean, I think this is why a lot of people are saying this isn't your typical Oregon team. Let's be real. Oregon is known to just kind of try to outscore everybody. That's been the nature of them. Based on these rankings and others that are floating around, that may not be the case this year. Oregon's going to be a problem. That we know their offense. We've already talked about that. Oregon is going to be a big problem, and it starts with this guy here on one of them. And I'm not sure he's the best one. We can go ahead and pair these up if you want, Rob, and go ahead and bring out the other one. Both came in number 6 and number 5. And I mean, that right there needs to tell you all you need to know is, here we go again. Taitum Tuiati? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
and this
guy, we're gonna call him TT.
Yeah, actually, with numbers like what he puts up, I'll call him whatever he wants. Sir, probably. 68 tackles, 9.5 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, defended 5 passes. I think he folded towels at halftime, refilled water bottles, and probably handed out hot dogs to some children in the stands too. This guy did it all. 6'3", 263. Rob, if you think you're going to run around and mess around with Oregon, you got another thing coming, man. This has the makings I'm not comping it. I'm not comparing it, but this has the makings of Mesidor and Bain at Miami last year.
I totally agree with you, man, because I'm looking at the size of these guys. You're talking 6'5", 272. You're talking 6'3", 263. You're talking about guys who, at that size, that can stop the run, right? You got first and second down if you decide to run, and they got you in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9, or even further behind the chains. Now these guys are bearing down on you. Now they can just pin their ears back and come, and you got it coming from both ends. They are probably going to force teams to go to a 2 tight end set because you're going to have to chip both of these guys, or you're going to have to go to a 2 running back set because somebody's going to have to help you chip on these guys. Man, there's no way any offensive team out there that they're going to face, that Oregon that is, that you got to account for these 2 guys, man. And then they got some 2 really good defensive linemen in the interior. I think this Oregon team is going to be hell on wheels for everyone in the Big Ten, especially if you got to travel to Eugene, Oregon to play them, or you get them at night. You're really going to have some issues, man. And I think these 2 guys is going to be monsters. You're talking about through their 3 years, 18.5 sacks for one of them, 17 sacks for the other. You're talking about 7 forced fumbles between the 2 of them. Mateo had 10.5 sacks 2 years ago. TT had 9.5 sacks last year. You're talking about 2 guys that could get double-digit sacks. And, for most teams, you want to be able to be up there in the 40 to 45 sack total by the end of the season. These guys got a chance to get half of that by themselves. They're going to be some monsters, bro. They're going to be some monsters.
Monster. Monster might be the way to describe that the best. I'll say this, that your little teaser there a second ago, that's next week's show, is interior defensive linemen, and I believe an Oregon guy is going to make that list too. So you can't double team these guys. That's what I'm getting at. You got defensive linemen that are hella good too, so you can't double. And I get what you're saying about leaving a 2-back system in to chip one. You name me a running back that wants to chip that. There's not many of them like that. A 2 tight end system, yeah, for sure. I can tell you this: I do not want Reuben Owens out there chipping one of those guys. I definitely don't want that, and I don't think you want Hollywood Smothers doing it either. Right. So, that's one of those. Go out to the coach says chip him, and I immediately pull my hamstring. I'm down. I'm sorry. That's not happening. That's a business decision. That's what we call that. So, definitely these 2 guys from Oregon, for sure, are going to be monsters. And then we crank into the top 4. These kind of all separated. You saw that the guy from Oregon, the 2 from Oregon, one had 13 votes and one had 17. And then the next 4 kind of separated themselves. Clev Lubin from Louisville. 61 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and 5 passes defended. I've seen this guy as high as the number 2 projected edge off of the draft boards. I think he could have been higher on this list. I think he could have been right where he is. I don't think he was going to be any lower than 4 on this list. Watching him, I see somebody that just has a football IQ. 6'3", 260. Not saying, I'm not saying at all he's not an athletic guy, but I think his football IQ of knowing it's almost like he can diagnose a play from the snap, as he knows what's happening and he knows where he needs to be. That's just what I get from this guy. You have him ranked 4th. Yeah, you had him 4th on your list. That's where I had it. So, what do you like?
I really like him, man. I think that you spot on about the fact that this guy's IQ is off the charts. He has 5 passes defended. This is a guy who's 6'3", 250, which lets you know that he can get into pass coverage if they want to disguise some things and drop him into coverage. 5 passes defended by a guy like this is phenomenal. It shows his IQ. Also, he had 3 forced fumbles. That's amazing. 8.5 sacks. We expect him to do even more of that this year, 13.5 tackles for loss. This is a guy who has a 24% win rate when he rushes the passer. That's saying that this guy, every 4 times he rushes the quarterback, he has a win rate of 1-4. That's almost a quarter of the time. That's an amazing stat. I mean, it's good when you at 20, but when you get to 24, that's top of the line, man. And I think this guy has an opportunity to be in the ACC, to really reap some havoc on some teams. And he's playing on a Louisville team who has really good coaching. Their offense is going to be clicking. They're going to be able to get their defense the ball because they're going to score and give them an opportunity to force teams out to pass the ball more often than they would want to. And that's going to give a guy like Cleve Lubin a chance to really get after the quarterback. I definitely see him getting double-digit sacks this year.
Yeah, for sure. And again, passes defended, people that may not understand, that's not, I can't get to the quarterback, let me put my hand up. Okay, that's not a pass defended. Yeah. That means a tight end or a running back is leaking out and you're responsible, or you dropped into a zone coverage and they thought, oh, my running back matched up with that edge, I'll take that and throw it, and he knocks the ball away. So, you know, that's a pass defended for anybody that's not aware. It's not the whole J.J. Watt swatting it down stuff. That's a knockdown. So, which I'm shocked they didn't list those on Sager. But, yeah, if you're 6'3", 260 is what they listed him at where I saw. If you're dropping into coverage at 260 and defending passes, it's just not fair. I mean, that it leads back to my IQ. It leads back to my IQ. He knows who he's got, where they're going. It's like he knows, okay, you're going to run a crossing or an in route, or you're going to break it out, or you're going to run a wheel. He knows where they're going to be, and he gets there first. So shout out to Clev. He might make the all-name list too. That's a pretty good. And then we move into our top 3. Number 3 coming in was John Henry Daly out of Michigan. 29 total votes, 48 tackles, 11.5 sacks in the Big Ten last year, 17.5 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. You know, Michigan, let's just be fair about it, had their struggles last year. Mm-hmm. The defense showed up in pretty much every game and tried and did, but the offense was just non-existent last year up in Ann Arbor. So this guy, I really expected him to transfer out, to be honest with you. I really didn't expect him to be there. But this is one of those that you're going to have to know where he is pre-snap, because I'm sure Michigan's going to move him from side to side, maybe put him inside a little bit. Let me look at this guy's weight.
He actually transferred in from Utah. He followed his coach to Michigan.
Oh, see, I thought he was. I wonder if I'm thinking of somebody else. I thought somebody. Maybe I'm thinking of a different guy.
Yeah. Hey, listen, there was so many dudes we had to do some research on. It's easy to confuse some of these guys, man.
Yeah.
Easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had numerous discussions in our chat about no, he's not there. He transferred from here. And I guess I forgot that he had transferred in. I thought he was there last year. I don't remember who I was thinking of that was there last year that caught my eye. Apparently I was watching Michigan film and somebody out there looked pretty good. I don't even know if that guy's still there, but whatever.
Yeah.
So he transferred in. He was at Utah. Okay. So then last year in the Big 12, still pretty good numbers for what he put up. You can see him there on the screen. But apparently I got my wires crossed with this guy. So I'll let you speak on John Henry Daly, because apparently I was maybe thinking of John Daly, the golfer. I'm not real sure what I was thinking on this one.
Yeah, I really like him. I had him at number 3 on my board. John Henry Daly transferred from Utah, following his coach to Michigan. 11.5 sacks last year at Utah. They were one of the better teams in the Big 12. A lot of that production on the defensive side of the ball came from him. 48 tackles. You're talking about 2 forced fumbles. Man, 17.5 tackles for loss. This guy is going to allow Michigan to be what we've seen Michigan's front 4 or their front 7 be for the last couple of years before they had that off year last year. Even when they weren't that good 2 years ago, record-wise, their defense was still really good. And I think that this guy is going to come in and really allow that Michigan team to get back to playing the kind of defense that they like to play, having good guys in the interior, and then having some bookends that can get after the quarterback, along with those guys in the interior pushing the pocket. I think this guy's going to have a phenomenal year. I see him getting double digits in sacks. Now, of course, he did 11.5 in the Big 12. He may not necessarily get the opportunity to do 11.5 in the Big 10, simply because we don't know what Michigan is going to look like offensively to force teams to have to pass a lot. Utah was able to get out front of some teams in the Big 12 and force them to have to pass a lot, which gave him more opportunities. That's why he had a 23% pass rush win rate, which is really high. The guy before we talked about having a 24. This guy has a 23, and like I said, really good is 20. And now you got a guy at 23% win rate. That's a phenomenal rate, man. Like I said, that's for every 4 rushes you get to your spot you need to get to. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. Remind me, did he bring the whole coaching staff with him, OC and DC too?
I think he brought everyone with him. If I'm not mistaken, he brought everyone.
I'm going to have to look into that, because if he brought his DC, I mean, granted, the Big 12 and the Big 10 are 2 totally different ball games. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, at least he knows all the calls.
Yeah, and his style of play is suited for the Big 10. I think him and Matt Campbell coming to the Big 10, both of their style of play, even though they played in the Big 12, was suited for the Big 10. They want to play the kind of football that they play in the Big 10, because I think both of these guys are going to be, those coaches are going to be really good in the Big 10.
Yeah, I don't have a doubt that both of them are going to be good. I just think it's going to take it's going to take Matt Campbell a little longer, I think.
Yeah. For sure.
Just based on what he's had to deal with what. Just so we'll see how that plays out. It was really number 2 on our list. I don't think this is much of a surprise. Everybody had this person labeled as their number 2, except for Postgame, who had him 4th. So I was really hoping Postgame would have been on, because I wanted to hear his thoughts on putting him at 4th, which I get. I get why you would. If you look at last year, I'm not sure you would have put him in the top 5. But I think if you look at what he's done over the course of being in South Carolina, he wreaked havoc as a true freshman. And he did take a little step back last year, but all of South Carolina took a step back last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you say taking a step back still equals 33 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and defended 2 passes. So that's taking a step back. You know, a lot of the guys we've seen had the similar numbers, except maybe the sack numbers in this ranking list. So I'm expecting huge things out of Dylan Stewart this year. I think he's a monster. I think he's just a freakish athlete. Dylan Stewart goes 6'5", 245. And, I mean, we've seen some of these guys, we've mentioned some 275, 263. 6'5", 245 to move like he moves is just not right. It just shouldn't be allowed. There's just something not right there. So I like Dylan Stewart, except for when he's playing Texas A&M. Y'all don't get South Carolina this year, do you?
No, we don't get them yet.
Yeah, well, Arch is lucky. Is happy. He doesn't have to dodge that dude. So, what are you thinking of Dylan Stewart? You had him right where I did.
I think Dylan Stewart is a really good football player. I think what hurt him last year statistically was the fact that South Carolina just was not any good. And when you can't put up a lot of points, you don't force teams to have to throw the football, which allow you to get those sack totals, because you can't fit anybody in third and distance to force them to pass. And I think that was their issue last year. Teams was able to move the football running it, and they really didn't have to drop back to pass against a South Carolina team who last year I thought was going to be better than what they were, and they took a really large step back. Even though they had some talent on that team, it just wasn't showing up week in and week out. We've seen glimpses of how good they could be, but they couldn't be consistent at it. And I think this year, if they can help him out offensively and put some points on the board that'll force teams that have to play catch up, he'll get an opportunity to get more sacks. I like the fact that he had 12 tackles for loss on a team that really wasn't that great. I like the fact that he had 2 passes defended, which shows that at times you can scheme him up to be in pass coverage, and he can do a good job there. I hope his 4.5 sacks gets up, and he gets more tackles than 33. But I really feel like he has an opportunity to be much better this year. I think the NFL loves him, regardless of what his stats look like, because they know in the right situations, on the right team, he can be a guy that can really help any NFL team out there that's looking for a guy that can get after the quarterback.
Well, I'll say it this way. South Carolina better find some defensive line help in another end. Because if not, they're just going to double team him, which is what happened to him last year. He was double teamed almost every snap. And if you're double teamed almost every snap and you're still putting up 33 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 12 for losses, that tells you what kind of guy you're dealing with here.
Yeah.
Plus, let's also think about how much he was on the field last year with South Carolina's offensive struggles. So it's not like he got to go sit and relax while the offense went on drives to kill clock. Now they were 3 and out a lot. So they better find some help on the D-line. That's for sure. Because if this guy's double teamed again, his numbers are probably going to be right about where they are that year. And that leads us to our number 1 overall, which is not a shock. We've only had one unanimous winner in all of our rankings, and that was Jeremiah Smith. Went straight across the board, all votes number 1 from 7 people. Colin Simmons almost got all the votes. He did wind up with 40, but we had a technicality where he lost a point because burnt orange is ugly. So I'm sorry, Colin, but I love you. I loved your Duncanville school, but I'm sorry, man, you can't do it. So, all joking aside, I had to throw that in there. You knew that. 43 tackles, 12 sacks, 15 and a half tackles for loss, a forced fumble, 2 passes defended. And I'm going to be honest with you, wasn't used right for half the season. As an Aggie, this guy scares the hell out of me. This might be the best pound for pound player in the SEC, to be honest with you. Freak. I've watched this kid since high school. He dominated then, and he's doing it here. So Colin Simmons is just on a whole different level. His quickness, I think being under Muschamp, who is going to tell Colin Simmons, go get the quarterback, please. He doesn't need to be having passes defended. Okay. He needs to get the quarterback, tackle the running back. That's all you need to focus. I don't need you to do anything else. We will handle the rest. But I think last year, y'all dropped him into coverage way too often. And I think that took away from his numbers. But Colin Simmons, to me, is by far the hands down number one player that should have been number one on this list.
Yeah, I feel like Colin Simmons is probably the best defensive player not named Leonard Moore. I feel like as far as the edge rushers goes, he's definitely number one on my list. This is a guy who understands how to get after the quarterback, knows how to use his speed. I think the first 4 or 5 games last year, he was pressing a little bit too much. And once he settled down, those last 7 games of the season, you really seen his sack numbers go up. He had 3 sacks against Oklahoma, your rival. You always want to make that happen. He had 2.5 sacks against Vanderbilt, plus a strip sack and recovery. I think this guy is going to be a phenomenal player this year in Muschamp's system. I really feel like PK did Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill a disservice last year, putting them in positions where he didn't have them going after the quarterback. I don't know what his thinking was on there. I think he felt like the back end wasn't meshing well like it did the year before when we had the defensive back coach that's back now that was coaching the safeties 2 years ago, and they weren't able to mesh the back end with the front end, and he had to move these guys in position that didn't improve their stock. But I think this year, Colin Simmons had 12 sacks last year. Many of them came in the second half of the season. I think this year, if he goes in and he doesn't press and he does what Will Muschamp wants him to do, and like you said, get after the quarterback, I think he has an opportunity to get the 15 to 18 sacks. Now, that's a high number, but I think this is a guy who could do that when you got a 12-game regular season, and then if Texas can get into the playoffs and maybe play a game or two, I think he can get the 15 to 18 sacks. That will be a phenomenal number for him. I hope that he stays healthy. I'm really excited about what he expects to do this year. I, too, watched him when he was in high school. Once I heard his name out there, and I was so fearful that he was going to go somewhere else other than Texas. But when you hear about this guy and the relationship that he has with his mom, the relationship that he has with his younger brother, I think going to Texas was a smart move. Or going somewhere in Texas was going to be the move for him all the time. I'm just glad he ended up in the burnt orange, that ugly burnt orange you talk about. So I'm excited about Colin Simmons this year. I think he's ready to really step out. And I'm glad that he's going to be at the SEC Media Day representing Texas as well, because I want the world to be able to see how articulate this young man is and how good a human being he is, because he's probably a better human being than he is a football player, and he's an amazing football player.
Yeah, that's a scary sentiment that he might be a better human than he is a football player because he's an elite football player, that's for sure. So the kid is an amazing kid. I hate that he went to Texas, obviously for obvious reasons. A&M wanted him, SMU. I don't ever think he was leaving the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Where he went, I mean, yeah, that's fine. As long as he stayed, like I said, in Texas, that was fine with me. I'd prefer him in maroon. That's a different subject. But he's not your typical football player. He is very well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that about seeing him at media days and how he's not afraid of any question. He'll answer anything. He's going to be honest with you. You may not like the answer, but he's going to tell you the truth. He's going to tell you how it's going to be. I will disagree. I don't see a 15 sack total due to the simple fact that a lot of his sacks in the SEC, you have so many mobile quarterbacks that some of those are going to be counted as tackles for loss, not a sack.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think that could affect that number. But he's definitely getting double figures. There's no doubt about that. But you mentioned another thing I wanted to talk about. That was you were talking about PK dropping him into coverage and why. I was very concerned about that last year, and I was hoping he'd keep doing it at the end of the year, by the way. He didn't, but I was hoping he would. But y'all's secondary was one of y'all's strong points last year going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
This year, not so much. There's talent back there. I'm not saying that, but it's young talent.
Yeah.
And learning a whole new system. We spoke about this with Muschamp system. You're hoping he doesn't tell, hey, I need you to drop back in coverage a little bit with Simmons at the beginning of the season. You need him just to go. But again, I'm not the defensive coordinator out there neither. So they know what they're going to do. But that's the other thing. You want to know what kind of man he is. Never complained about it. Yeah. Some of these edge guys are like, let me go. He's like, okay. You need me to go play safety? What do you want me to do? You want me to kick field goals? Whatever. He's that guy.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I was, like I said, I was really wanting post-game stuff on that, but I guess he had something go on or technical difficulties popped up over there. So, not really anything crazy in the chat going on. A lot of people asking about Jadarian Price, but that's for another show. Next week we got interior defensive lineman top 10 coming up. That one's going to be even harder, I think, Rob.
Yeah, it's going to be.
difficult. So I'm going to start researching that like tonight. Well, what do we got? Anything coming up this weekend we got going? We got any ideas what we're talking about?
Well, I know this Saturday and Sunday we're going to do the ACC's preview. We're going to rank those teams in the ACC, and then on Sunday, because I don't think One Take Zay is going to be able to make it Sunday. Then we're going to do the SEC, and then the following Saturday we'll do the Big Ten. So I know we got those 3 shows coming up. Mossberg has a special interview coming up on Friday. Mm-hmm. He'll be on again tomorrow doing a conversation with Mossberg. And then post-game will be on Thursday at 7:45. So we got a lot for everybody out there watching. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you hit that notification bell. So anytime we go live, you'll get notified and you can tune in and continue to support our channels.
For sure. And speaking of the channels, you see them all scrolling down below us down there. I'm going to be honest with you, Rob. I don't even know if anybody voted on our poll. I can't tell.
I'm trying to go through a different channel to look and see if I could see it, and it wasn't there. So I'm not sure how that works.
Well, when you put a question up, it goes away.
Okay.
So if one of your comments is up on the screen, it goes away, and when you take it down, I can see it now.
Yeah, I can see
But-
it now.
Yeah, I just don't know if anybody. It is what it is. We'll figure it out at some point. But yeah, like we said, all the channels you see them scrolling down below: Level Up Sports 10, City League TV, WTP Sports for our WTP for Life, Post Game with Post Game 86 podcast, SEC Sean, One Take Zaya, T1 is on City League, and you got Parlay Poe with the Blitzburg podcast. Look, it's getting to be football season. Y'all want content. You want us to talk about content. We're going to bring you all the content. Go like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, man. That notification bell will let you know every night when we're going live. And if you subscribe to all channels, you'll know if Rob's going to jump on by himself for something you want to talk about. If I'm coming on with something I want to talk, you'll know whoever's live. So go do that. You can also follow us on Patreon, WTP Sports Dudes. All these shows are uploaded there. Along with there, they go from there to Spotify. If you're driving around, want to listen to them in the car, got a podcast there. Got a website, WTPSportsDudes.com. Please go there, check it out. Click there's a little bio thing on all of us there. There's an email link on it so you can shoot questions, topics for shows you want to know about, and then Robert will bring them to us and we'll go through and plan out a show for you. That's how you can support us. We're just out here, guys. We're just out here chopping it up, talking sports, talking ball. Any support y'all give is greatly appreciated. If you just want to tune in and drop some comments, that's just fine too. We appreciate all any level we get, we take. You got anything else?
No, nothing else, buddy.
All right. We're going to call it a night, and y'all go and have a good evening, and we'll catch up on the next run around.
All right, SEC, I'll see you, bro.
I'll see you later, brother. Peace.
All right, peace.